Michael, I think you're the perfect person to start with on this because, as I was saying, you are the historian here. You give us a sense of how this arc of history is bending. Can you tell us in your assessment of how we're doing on that arc of history tonight?
Absolutely happy to. And I hope you don't mind my starting, Eamon, by noting that my friends Jill and Paul, the three of us, are all from Chicago. So tonight we're hearing the voices of mid-America. I think my friends will agree. And that having been said, democracy, I think, is more in danger than it has been since 1860 at the beginning of the Civil War, late 1930s, when this country was in danger of fascist leaders and politicians and fascism abroad, Hitler and Mussolini, Imperial Japanese. But at the same time, I totally agreed with what you said at the beginning, Eamon. You know, let's take a victory lap tonight. This is an evening that we can take one breath before we go back to the fight for democracy that's so necessary and say, you know, we always have to have faith that a majority that loves democracy and loves the rule of law and loves real, free, fair elections will not be denied that by an angry minority forever. And we are seeing that in a certain way in Russia. We're seeing it Iran, just as you mentioned, and we're also seeing it in the United States. Sometimes it takes our system a while to rally, but, you know, look at Donald Trump, for instance, you mentioned. Not a great 24 hours for him, which I would like to celebrate personally tonight. This is someone who not only has this lawsuit in New York by the New York Attorney General. Listen to the offenses she listed. You know, those are astounding. I've never heard of any president of the United States even accused of something as bad as that. And that's just one legal action. He's going to be liable for legal actions, most probably in connection with 9/11 and the classified documents case, and in Georgia, a state that you know well, Eamon, and a couple of other places. And all I'm saying is those who do not want Trump to run in 2024, which I think I would safely say includes the four of us here, would say that that's not going to happen because his base is going to be disgusted by this stuff. They're not disgusted by anything. But if you've got a man in not great health, like Donald Trump, who now has to face perhaps a 4 or 5 front legal war, I don't see how someone can do that and run for president.
Paul, to Michael's point, the success of our democracy depends on independent judges. And the judges in Trump's cases, other than Judge Cannon, who have to uphold our laws and our institutions, seem to have no time for Donald Trump's games. I mean, what do you make of the way these judges have been ruling and speaking out about the actions of the former president?
Yeah, so first, Eamon, shout out to my homeboy, Michael, and my homegirl, Jill, Chi-Town in the house.
Same here. Yeah, thank you. Go Cubs and Sox.
Donald Trump has had a terrible, no good, very bad week, and the rule of law is having a really good week. The same special master that Trump selected to review the Mar-a-Lago documents ruled against him, and 2 appellate judges who Trump appointed took down his legal arguments expeditiously and forcefully. So these judges are doing what judges are supposed to do. I kind of think of that Chris Rock joke about when men get credit for taking care of their children. Chris Rock says, you're supposed to take care of your children. And Eamon, if you're a federal judge, you're supposed to uphold the rule of law. And the reality is most judges have actually been doing that. In the Supreme Court decision, Clarence Thomas was the only justice to vote that Trump shouldn't have to turn over certain documents to investigators. Even justices that Trump appointed disagreed with that. And in the many cases that grew out of the insurrection and the fake elector scheme, judges who Trump appointed have consistently ruled against him.
Jill, you have had a front row seat to the Nixon administration. Often Trump is compared to Nixon, but I think he is far more egregious in terms of what he has done to our country, our democracy, and to the rule of law. What was the Nixon tipping point And have we reached it with Donald Trump? I think a lot of people are watching this with a sense of frustration that over the last several years, all of the legal machinations that have come against Donald Trump for what people rightfully believe to have been his violations of the law have not materialized in a meaningful, punitive way.
I think people are upset about that and want to see some accountability and won't settle for anything less than that. The difference is that now we live in a world with alternative facts, an alternative reality. During Watergate, all of the networks had the same facts. Everybody agreed on it. There was bipartisanship. Those things are very, very much missing now. And so you do have a group of people who will continue to believe the falsehoods that are being spewed by the Republican Party, not just by Trump, but by all of his colleagues. And that is a danger to democracy that I don't think we ever faced during the Nixon administration. That's what I'm worried about. And I'm worried about also, while I've seen most judges have upheld the rule of law, and while I'm not a historian, I have lived through historic times. And I remember when judges were always viewed as independent, neutral arbiters of facts and law. And now we have a Supreme Court where no one, I shouldn't say no one, but many people do not believe that they are neutral arbiters, that they have determined the outcomes they want and are issuing decisions that go along with that. And there is one decision that is coming up in the next term that I just want to point out is the independent state legislature theory. And that is very scary to me. That is the end of what we know as democracy if that case is decided in a certain way. It means that states can do anything they want and there's no review of it, and that they can say, well, we want this candidate for president. I don't care what the popular vote was. People should be really paying attention to the Supreme Court and to that particular case. I'm very concerned about it.